live stream. It's a live stream. It's a live stream. Doing the stuffs and the things and the stuffs and the things. And my computer froze for a second in the live stream. Everything is fine in the live stream. That's my voice, extra voice in the live stream. In the live stream. In the live stream. Bop-a-da-bop-bop-a-da-bop-bop. Live stream. Live stream. Live stream. I don't remember how to do this in the live stream. I just remember it in the live stream. Live stream. Live stream, live chat. There's a kitten meowing in the live stream. Live stream number 50.
Number
Pretty cool.
50, pretty damn cool. Meow.
It's alright. It's alright.
Peanut's excited for you.
Peanut, are you excited? Yeah.
It's the 50th live stream
Live
on
stream number
YouTube.
50. You excited?
Obviously, you've had a lot more live streams than that, but this 50th one on YouTube.
Well, I did about 50 on TikTok. So,
Did you?
eh,
Is it about 50?
it was about 50, give or take.
This is essentially almost like your 100th.
Probably-ish.
overall.
Might have like 102 or something like that, but yeah.
Dang.
It's alright. It's pretty cool. Can you give me my medicine?
Your medicine.
Yeah.
I can get you your
It's a live stream. Doing the stuffs and the things in the live stream. In the live stream. People trying to say that biblical slavery isn't a thing in the live stream. People ignoring verses of the Bible in the live stream. I'm not doing drugs, I promise. I mean, I kind of am.
allergy that's. Hi, kitten.
Just so my cat allergy doesn't kill me. In the live stream.
Hi.
Because it's a live stream. In the live stream. People thinking science can harmonize with the Bible in the live stream. In the live stream. Everything's great in the live stream. Evolution is just a theory because you don't know what a theory is in the live stream. Just randomly looking at comments in the live stream. Hello, yellow team. Hello. Is that supposed to mean something? Did you trick me into saying something I wasn't supposed to? People have done it. People have done it successfully.
People have done it. They have got you.
They have got me.
Yeah,
I try to be careful. You'll notice when I get a message, or a chat or whatever, I'll read it before I read it out loud, because otherwise I'll walk right into something. I've done it before. We learn and we grow, and we do better. Hello. Not to say that I can't be got, because I get got all the time, but you know. Get in. Thank you. Welcome, all. Hello. Hope you're all doing well this evening. I'm doing pretty good.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome.
This is my 50th live stream here on YouTube. It's kind of cool. No one is too far gone for Christ to bring them back to the light. We are all sinners and need a Savior, so Jesus came down to live a perfect life, and he died on the cross for your sins, and he rose from the grave. Because if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For with the heart one believes and is justified, and with the mouth one confesses and is saved. Romans 10, 9 through 10, English Standard Version. Why should I believe any of that? That's a random comment that I'm reading, by the way. So they're not even here to defend themselves, which is kind of a shame. You subscribed? Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I always say, some people are like, it's never too late to turn back to God and come back to God. Okay, you know what? We'll call that Plan Z or something. You know, if all else fails, we'll say Plan Z. And there are some people who believe that we're all going to end up in heaven regardless, that God's just going to kind of let us in someday. So, I mean, fuck, we'll call that Plan Z. We'll call that, you know, whatever. Because apparently it doesn't matter, and I'll end up in heaven no matter what. Everyone will end up in heaven no matter what, according to some people, which is a very lovely idea, just interesting. Issue is Bible is more on the promise of eternal life and resurrection of the dead through Jesus, rather than a specific, explicit, step-by-step description of the afterlife itself. It doesn't really go into too much detail on the afterlife. This is true. We get very vague shit. I mean, we get a pretty good description of the New Jerusalem at the end of Revelations, but that's it. Afterlife in Judaism isn't single. I don't know why I said it like that. Judaism, I mean, it's not the worst way to say it. Isn't single, explicitly detailed, but rather a beliefs and interpretations that have evolved throughout history. A lot of these religions are. A lot of them are just, they've been built on and picked at and repacked over time. Which, speaking of Judaism, I'm not a defender of Mormonism or LDS or anything like that, but somebody said that the Book of Mormon is false gospel that doesn't even accept the deity of Christ. It's a disgusting perversion of Christian theology. If it can even be considered Christian by anyone who does more than 5 minutes of research. The Bible is the only book that's fully inspired by God and written by the men he chooses. I pray you'll come to repentance, my friend. It's just interesting talking about how the Book of Mormon is like twisting and perverting Christianity. I wonder, I haven't asked, so maybe I'm completely out of line, but I wonder what Jewish individuals think about Christianity. Because there was Judaism, and then Christianity branched off of Judaism. And a lot of people thought that Christianity was and still think that Christianity was some false religion. They followed some false messiah straight out of Judaism into their own new, different religion. And then they went back and kind of tweaked bits of the Old Testament and reinterpreted it to fit the narrative, the New Testament narrative. So, it's kind of shitty too. You know, some might argue they did more to Judaism. Christianity did more to Judaism than Mormonism has done to Christianity. But whatever. Old New Testament and Quran has misunderstandings of God's will of innocence and divine judgment. It's aware of the innocent, but portrays acts of judgment raises about sins and God's infinite nature. Well, there's definitely a lot of punishment throughout the Old Testament. There's definitely a lot of that. I do like, though, because the comment I just read was in response to somebody trying to defend LDS in the comment section. And I do think it's cool that I have atheists, Christians of various denominations, Muslims, who regularly show up in my comment sections, in my live streams, and I like that, because I like the diversity of thought that comes with that. Came here to troll, but now that I see you, I can't bring myself to do it. Thanks. Also, I love your name and profile picture. My favorite is Mr. Frundles, but, you know, Poopy Butthole's pretty good. It was funny, my daughter got a keychain once, like probably a couple months ago. from one of those coin things. You put the coin in, and you turn it and get a toy out. And she's like, look, it's a pickle. And it was Pickle Rick. I'm just like, that's cooler than you think it is. I'm glad you're excited about it.
Literally, when she saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, it's Pickle Rick.
It's Pickle Rick.
I love this.
I'm glad you're excited about it. Maybe one day you could be even more excited about it.
I told her, I was like, Cece, Dad is going to love this.
Please sub. I don't know who you are. I don't just sub to random people. I'm sorry. And it's no shame, against people that I don't sub against. I sub to people that I really like and I really like seeing and I want to see in my feed. And even then, sometimes I go through and clear some of those subscriptions because I have too many that I'm not watching. So even then, even if I like you and like seeing your stuff, I still might not stay subscribed to you or even subscribe to you to begin with. And there's no shame because there's plenty of wonderful accounts. There's plenty of accounts that I think are wonderful that I don't sub to. I can't imagine how many wonderful accounts there are that I don't or that I haven't heard of. Frantically trying to find comments.
Someone asked on your thing if you would go to a gay wedding.
What I go? I completely missed that. Would I go to a gay wedding? Yeah. Why not? What school did you kidnap your daughter from? I did not kidnap my daughter.
She's legitimate, don't worry.
She's legit. Trust me, she's our kid.
Yes.
So it's one of those situations where your child's just doing something completely unhinged and you're just like, yep. Sounds about right. True Christianity literally fits into science. It doesn't. And if you argue with evolution, that's just a theory. Even though you clearly don't know what a theory is. Person who's not actually in the live stream, but whose comment I'm just reading. I need to announce to people that, like, hey, if you, leave a comment, I, might read it and respond to it in a live stream. So that way maybe they'll, tune in and see the comment. Because I don't have the time of day to, respond to comments. Even one comment. But I have time in the live stream to respond. And I want to start clipping out videos of me, responding to certain comments. I was seeing some of the stuff that people argue about in my comment section. People argue about some weird stuff. Is that Seahorse?
No, it's her.
My daughter's just singing upstairs. There isn't a single universal, accepted, and explicit detailed explanation of the afterlife or a uniform interpretation of God's infinite nature and understanding of God's will has evolved over time. I agree. Jesus loves you. Don't turn your back on him. He died on the cross for you. Listen to him calling to you. Come back to him. He is calling you by name. He's not calling very loud. At all. Not calling at all. Not even trying, really. If God is real, he seems to have absolutely no issues with me being an atheist. So why not just keep being an atheist? What's so bad? He's fine with it, clearly. Pretty sure Jesus said that most people are going to hell anyway, so like someone's got to fit the most people.
She's literally just so chill. And it's just purring.
Kitten. Baby kitten.
Oh, she's looking too.
Baby. Alright, let's see what else I got here. So ridiculous when people call science faith. It is ridiculous because nobody has faith in science. Science just kind of like says, hey, here's why you should believe. And it's usually pretty valid. And so we believe. Science, I mean, the world around you is brought to you by science. The technology, the structures, the everything around you. Some of the humans are brought to you by science. Some of the humans wouldn't be here if it weren't for advances in medicine and technology. So they're including just people being born who wouldn't be born if there wasn't advances in science and medicine and technology, and elderly people who might not be here because people might not live that long without advances in science and medicine and technology. You're also, when people comment saying, you know, you have faith in science, we shouldn't believe science or trust science. You're using a phone connected to some sort of internet to post a comment on a social media site. All of that is brought to you by science and technology. It's great. It's just kind of great.
The modern world wouldn't be here if it wasn't for science.
The modern world is brought to you by science. People say, well, Christians have brought stuff from the modern world. Yes, but Christians have contributed to science and technology by doing science and innovating technology. They haven't brought the modern world just by being Christian. Science is available to anyone. Anyone can do science. Anyone can advance science and medicine and technology if they really apply themselves. Doesn't matter what your personal religious beliefs are. Because people will try to say that. Oh, this, you know, Isaac Newton believed in God. So, like, do you, like, trust gravity at all? Isaac Newton figured out gravity by doing science, not by listening to the word of God. He figured it out by doing science and observation and testing and shit. Because that's how stuff works. That's how we actually get places. Is testing and observation and studying and, you know, the repeatability of things. Actual, credible, substantial evidence. That's how we get places. That's how we believe things. And learning about that stuff and then challenging those beliefs is how we continue to progress and learn more about the world around us. The Book of Philemon was written for a slave. People will try to say that the Book of Philemon is about freeing a slave. And technically yes, technically no. But the Book of Philemon is this slave runs away from its master. Onesimus, I think is his name. Runs away from his master Philemon. And Paul runs into Onesimus and sends him back to Philemon, the guy that he ran away from, the guy that the slave ran away from. He sends the slave back to his master. I don't know. I don't even know if the story is true, first off. But second, if someone runs away from their master, one, slavery is just a fucked up thing in general. But if somebody runs away from their master, they probably don't want to be a slave under that master, or probably don't want to have anything to do with that master. So Paul gives Onesimus a note for Philemon, saying, hey, you need to not have this guy be a slave and to treat him as a friend and all this stuff. And then he sends him on his way. Just sends him back to his master with a note saying, hey, don't do slavery and be nice to this guy. And he says that he'll check back in later. He'll come visit later. We don't get an update on that. We don't know if he ever did or what came of it. All we get is Paul taking someone who was a slave, who ran away from their master for probably reasons, is Paul sending him back to his master with a note saying, hey, please don't make this guy a slave and please be nice to him. That's what we get. And you could say maybe Paul had some childish naivety where he thought that that's how everything worked, and maybe it did. I don't know. Again, I don't even know what happened. We don't get an update. But you don't just send slaves back to their masters after they've run away from their masters. And then you don't get to a couple thousand years later-ish say, oh, Paul freed that slave. Did he? Assuming it happened, Philemon could have just killed Onesimus right on sight upon Onesimus' return without even reading the note. We have no idea, and Paul had no idea what would happen prior to him sending him back. Yes, he said he would visit later, and then again, we don't get an update on that. So we don't know. We don't know how. We don't know if Paul visited. We don't know if any of it even happened. We don't know if, but even if it did happen, we don't know if Paul visited. We don't know how long. Philemon could have killed Onesimus in that time, or done a whole other number of things. Hello, Doom. And people will say, "Oh no, he freed slaves." It's just a really, really shitty, sloppy way of freeing a slave. It really is. It is. Onesimus freed himself. He ran away. He was free. You sent him back and told his master, hey, can you free him and be nice to him? That is dumb, and you don't get to use that as a Bible or any kind of source that the Bible says, yeah, you shouldn't do slavery. Especially when the same dude who sent Onesimus back to Philemon is the same dude that said that slaves should be obedient to their masters, even the cruel ones. And yes, he did say that masters should be kind to their slaves, but he also said that even if they're not, slaves should still submit to their masters, because we're having two separate judgment systems. If the master's cruel to the slave, that's on the master, and God will judge the master later. But if the slave still submits to the master, then that's good on the slave. So that's the expectations, and just because one breaks them doesn't mean the other one should break it. So even if Philemon didn't release Onesimus and just put him right back to work, yeah, Paul may have tried to have some more talks with him, but he would have expected Onesimus to continue his servitude, no matter how cruel things were. The servitude that he already ran away from for reasons that we don't get, but I can't imagine they're good. It's just think. Take an extra step with your thoughts when it comes to stuff. It's like when people talk, now I'm just ranting. It's like when people talk about, Noah's Ark. God didn't command Noah's family to commit incest. No. Everyone had a couple. Everyone had a partner. There was Noah and his wife, and their 3 sons and their wives. Everyone had a partner. There was no incest. They mated with their partners. Okay, then they have offspring. And that offspring grows up and is ready to marry and have kids. It has to repopulate a planet, by the way. who are they going to have offspring with? Because their options are siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles. Noah and his wife, if they're still young enough, there's hundreds of year-old people having kids in the Bible. Sure, why not? You know, there's plenty of old people having kids in the Bible, so why not? That's incest. There's not a way where you start with 8 people and get to 8 billion where you don't have incest. But people stop when they see everyone had a couple, so it wasn't incest. They stop right there. It's like, think one more step. Think it through. It's so weird how slavery was seen as okay, stripping away a person's rights and freedoms, but being abusive isn't okay. Like, slavery isn't abuse? Very weird cognitive dissonance. Yeah. Opinions on faithfully fishing for facts. I haven't watched a whole lot of your content. I guess I don't have much of your opinions. I like seeing you in my comment section. You know, you got some thoughts. You got some stuff to add, you know. It's good to see you. I don't always agree with you, which, I mean, we're kind of on different sides of the argument, so, like, we're not going to agree, obviously, but, like, it's good to see you.
Can I have
You have a blanket? You've taken away extra stuff in my backdrop. Hello.
the splash of color?
A splash of color, that's, yeah.
Sorry, how dare I be cold during your live stream?
That's okay. I'll forgive you this time. Take the blanket away and turn the fan off. Turn the fan on. You won't fight me. You have a kitty on you. You can't even get up. I could take the blanket away and just turn the fan on.
No, this way.
How are
She
you?
is just
I'm pretty good right now.
cuddled with me.
I'm pretty good.
She is just cuddled up.
It is pretty
with
cute.
me.
I'm stuck.
Hello,
I'm stuck on
everyone.
cables. It's a kitten. I mean, it's not a kitten. It's like a 9-year-old cat, but it's kitten. 10-year-old cat. It's kitten.
10-year-old.
What is the show about? Atheism versus theism? Hello. Hello. Oh, you're saying hi to Taylor. I got
Yes,
super
Taylor,
confused for a
it's
second there.
Peanut.
I'm not smart.
It is Peanut.
Tis Peanut.
She's being cuddled.
And I still call her kitten. All cats are kitties and kittens, and all dogs are puppies. Period. What side are you on? Atheist. I am an atheist. But no, and then, like, tales in the Bible where God destroys Sodom and Gomorrah because there wasn't a single good person in all the town. Okay, so how many people did the 1-year-olds kill? How many people did the 2-year-olds kill? 3-year-olds? 4-year-old could probably do it. But, like, maybe 3-year-old could do it. But 1, 2-year-old? It's like, it's nice when you just look at it on the surface of God destroyed this perverse town. But when you actually think about it in terms of reality, even though I don't think tales like this are meant to be thought of as anything other than mythology, because they just sound like mythology to me that's not supposed to be compared to reality. But when you actually look at it, babies died. And then you get people coming in and saying, oh, well, it's good that he killed them because, you know, they would have just grown up to be evil. You're justifying murdering children, murdering babies so they don't grow up to be evil. Like, if there's like a criminal, if there's a criminal and his wife has a baby, should we just snap the baby's neck when it's born? Look at its dad, you know? His dad's a criminal, so obviously this baby's going to turn into a criminal. Should we just kind of like, you know, is that how things work? Is that the world you want to live in? Is that the mindset that you're trying to justify? I remember all the 1-year-olds waging war and leading armies. Not many people remember the great 1-year-old uprising of fucking, what would it be, 4000 AD or BC? No, somewhere around there. I'm trying to think. It's Genesis. We're a few generations away from Adam. 4 or 5,000 something BC, probably. If we're going by the creation story being 6,000 BC, which obviously it's not, but the most lethal warlord in history was 6 days old. He came out of the womb craving violence. There was no judgment until the flood. There was no judgment until the flood. Well, there was some judgment before the flood. I remember there being some judgment before the flood. Not a lot, because, you know, that's when the story started, but, like, not even on Cain. Cain had some judgment. All of humanity got judged pretty hard after Adam and Eve ate the fruit. They judged newborn infants. What is disappointing about the Bible is the idea that everything is preordained, including what goes to heaven. Who goes to heaven, sorry. And I can't remember what verse, but yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's quite preordained, but God knows everything that happened and set everything into motion in such a certain way, and he tweaks, and we already know he violates people's free will because he does it in the Bible. So, you know, it's there's a little bit of preordainedness going on. They accepted the knowledge of evil. They were tempted by a serpent to eat the fruit of knowledge of good and evil that God told them not to eat, and then walked away and left his naive new creation, who were just born, who didn't have a knowledge of good and evil, and therefore didn't have a good sense of right and wrong with which they could have used to listen to God and obey God and know that following God was good. And then God just kind of walks away, or stands off to the side eating popcorn since he's omnipresent, and just watches as the serpent, this great tempter, who he also put in the garden with them, tempts his naive new creation into eating the fruit. He can't walk away, so he stood on the sidelines and watched. It seems so backwards to punish knowledge in and of itself. Yeah, but they also confessed, which means there was truth in them. They confessed after they ate the fruit. God told them that if they eat from the tree, they would get the knowledge of evil and become dead to life. I don't remember that being the exact words of dead to life. Kind of sounds like he was saying that they would die that day, and then they didn't, which the serpent told them that they wouldn't, and they didn't. But I know there's some debate and speculation about that. And yeah, God told them not to eat it, but they didn't have a knowledge of good and evil. They didn't have that good conscience to inform their decisions. So there is a world before us? What do you mean? What do you mean by saying, so there's a world before us? The story of Adam and Eve is the equivalent of putting your infant in the middle of the road with a violent, speeding, drunk driver and getting mad at the infant for being ran over. They did die. But they didn't die immediately. They lived to be very, very, very old. Hundreds of years old. I don't remember the exact number. I want to say Adam lived to be like fucking 900 or something, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. Hundreds of years old. He lived a very, very, very long life. The angels. There was a world before us that it was the angels? Sure. I mean, there's speculation about that. Like, when did God create heaven and the angels and stuff? Adam and Eve weren't infants, but they were born just a couple of days ago and didn't have the knowledge of good and evil. So they weren't complete. It's not the worst analogy. They came out of the water. They came out of the water? Oh, the angels came out of the water? Lucifer was an angel to light, and he was a musician. I don't know where I haven't heard the musician one. Where's that from? I'm not like doubting you or anything. I'm just curious. Speaking of God getting mad for stupid reasons, I listen to an audiobook of the Bible on a regular basis, and I just listened to through the Balaam's donkey thing, which a lot of people like to point out. It's like, oh, the Bible talks about talking donkeys, believes in talking donkeys. That's not the dumbest thing about that story. Balak, I'm probably mispronouncing names, I'm sorry, but Balak wants to go out against the Israelites and fight them. And so he sends his guys to go talk to Balaam, and he's like, come meet me and curse Israel, because whoever you curse is cursed, whoever you bless is blessed. So help me out here so I can defeat Israel. So he goes, his people go to Balaam, and they're like, hey, come with us and like curse Israel. And Balaam's like, I gotta ask God, see what he says. And God says, hey, don't go with them. And don't curse Israel. They're my people. Balaam's like, all right. So he tells the people, no, I can't do it. So they go back. And then Balak sends them back. Says like, more urgency. No, please come. And Balaam's like, all right, hold on, let me talk to God. And God's like, you can go, but you got to do exactly what I say. So he gets up. Balaam gets up, gets on his donkey, and goes with these people. Then God gets really, really pissed that Balaam went that Balaam went with the people. He gets really pissed that Balaam disobeys him and sins and goes with the people, even though God told him to. He gets really pissed off. Sends an angel with a sword to just fucking cut Balaam down. The donkey sees the angel and keeps swerving and weaving and bothering Balaam. And Balaam keeps beating the donkey. And, finally the donkey's mouth opens. God opens the donkey's mouth. And is like, why are you hitting me? And Balaam's like, why are you not walking? And he goes, there's an angel here. And then Balaam sees the angel and he's like, oh my God, like, there's an angel. And the angel's like, I'm here to kill you because you didn't listen or whatever. And Balaam's like, I'm sorry, I sinned, by listening to you and going when you told me to go. And the angel says, you can go, but you got to do as I say. And it's just like, what the fuck are we doing? Can I go or not? Is it okay to go or is it not okay to go?
We ain't playing mind games here.
God loves mind games. So it's okay to disobey? I didn't say it was okay to disobey. Spirits are water. Where do you get that from? They knew they would surely die if they ate the fruit. They didn't know that. Also, just saying, the only person God warned about the tree was Adam, brought out of the Bible and noticed the detail. He did, but I think Adam told Eve. So I think the understanding of the story was that she knew. Yeah, she figures it out. Adam probably told her or something. I don't know. Balaam was told what to do. Balaam was told to go, and then almost got smited for going. That's what the story is. And it's stupid. So like people just always talk about The freaking talking donkey. It's like, talking donkey is not the dumbest part of that story.
She hasn't cuddled like this with me in so long.
Eve even said they would die.
Ugh.
She said that God said that they would die. And then the serpent said, nuh-uh. Who's she supposed to know who to listen to? She said she was tricked. Yeah, she was tricked. Hi, gay asparagus. How come you wear pumpkin shirts often? It's cute, not gonna lie, just why. I love Halloween. Love Halloween. Love it, absolutely. I'm so excited right now. I already have Halloween candy in my dining room. I'm so ready. Fall and Halloween is my seasonal antidepressant. I need it. It's the way I used to describe it was I just felt like I had a darker soul, and Fall and Halloween just kind of meshed with it and just felt like it just fit with my soul really nice. I obviously don't believe in souls anymore, but I don't know a better way to describe it. I think that's still the best way I can describe it, how I feel about Fall and Halloween. It's nice, it's comfort, it's enjoyable, it's fun. It just, something about me just clicks with it, and I love it. So last Halloween, I bought a ton of Halloween shirts, not just pumpkin shirts.
You got multiple pumpkin
And
shirts,
I do have multiple pumpkin shirts. And I wear them. And I especially wear them mostly in my videos because I want to avoid, like, what's what I'm looking for? Branding and stuff in my videos. Like, I have a lot of, like, Marvel shirts and stuff. I don't want to wear those because I don't want to, like, be branding. But pumpkin's not branding. Pumpkin's just pumpkin. Pumpkin's just, I mean, it's a broad brand, but it's not like, copyright brand.
You're twinning.
We are twinning, kind of.
Kind of? What do you mean kind of?
Yours is more feminine. It's not the same. And you have sleeves.
They're still pumpkin shirts.
For the most part. I'm being difficult. The Halloween spooky kitty. Yes. Also, I find it weird how God starts going, "Where are you? Who told you that?" After they ate the fruit. Like, he isn't omnipresent and all-knowing. He's feigning ignorance, lying, and being deceptive. Yeah, if he's all-present and all-knowing, he watched it happen. He made this creation, didn't give them the knowledge of good and evil, put that knowledge in a fruit and said, don't eat that. And then he stood back and watched as this incredible deceiver serpent approaches his naive new creation and tempts them into eating the fruit. And since they don't have a good knowledge of good and evil, with which could inform their conscience to not listen to the serpent and listen to God, they eat the fruit. They were set up. There's no other way that I can see that it could have ended. And God just sat back and watched the whole thing. And has the gall to pretend he wasn't watching. Which, in fairness, it would seem that the authors of Genesis didn't have the same God as the authors of Revelations. You see the idea of God kind of change and evolve from being like a physical being that walks around, that has a face and a back and, interacts with people and wrestled with Jacob and all this stuff, and came and walked and talked with Abraham. And you get that, and you kind of see a transition to this formless, infinite being in a different dimension. And you kind of see that transition. So yes, in Genesis, it absolutely seemed like there was this idea of a physical God with human, anthropomorphic God with human characteristics that would just walk around. So maybe he would just walk away and not be with them with that idea.
Hid. Didn't you know that? They hid.
They didn't hide. What's more spicy in flavor, Indian, Mexican, or Chinese? I think it depends on what you're eating from each. It has to go in. God would ask me the same thing if I was doing something I know was wrong. They hid. Where are you? He should know. They shouldn't. You can't hide from God. And after they eat the fruit, they know right from wrong. The moment they ate it, their eyes were open. They hid because they knew something was wrong. Correct. Old Testament versus New Testament, I guess. Unless the transition happened before the New Testament. It happens throughout the Old Testament. The New Testament God is pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same. And I mean, different authors of different books have different ideas, but the overall idea is pretty much the same. So we see most of the transition through the Old Testament. They knew they were naked. That's the first death uncovered. If that's how you want to interpret it, how does hiding amongst trees successfully deceive the most powerful being in all existence? Maybe his lore hadn't evolved to that yet. Maybe he was just essentially a god dude wizard walking around.
God dude wizard.
He was a god dude wizard. I like yelling at the kids.
Snickers.
Human experience tells you that no one knows anything except for the things that they know. I'm sorry? Human experience tells you that no one knows anything except for the things they know. Okay. What does that do? Well, there is a second death mentioned at the end. Like when they actually die at the end? Or at the end of their story, not at the end of Genesis, but at the end of their story. The shaming of gaining knowledge in the Genesis story is what finally made the whole Bible fall apart for me. The Bible definitely shames knowledge, and definitely shames worldly knowledge. Because, I mean, hey, when you're coming up with a religion, you got to keep people in the fold. And you can't do that very easily if people know shit. If people are learning about the world and stuff. That's one of the reasons Christianity has declined as much as it has, especially in the modern world, and why atheism is on the rise. Because the sharing and spread and accessibility of information contrary to Christian belief is everywhere. It's so easy to access. That's why I think it's important to have communities like this, where we're sharing these ideas online, not being quiet about it, to help people figure out that Christianity is kind of nonsense. You are only responsible for your knowledge of good and evil. So either the New Testament is false or God is a liar. That and a talking snake. No other explanation. Yeah. It does really seem like the New Testament portrayal of this truly all-knowing being completely betrays the initial premise set by the Old Testament. Yeah. It kind of does. It kind of just does. That's why when people bring about... oh, no, somebody said it recently. The Bible was written over a period of 1,500 years in 3 different languages on 3 different continents with over 36,000 correlations. And I'm going to stop there and just say, I can tell. You can tell. They then went on to say, and it all points to one story, the death and resurrection of Christ, and that doesn't make sense, question mark? Because it kind of doesn't all point to that, really. But yeah, this common argument of like, the Bible was written by so many people in different languages over this many periods of time, I can tell. You can tell by reading it. You can tell. And then you can also tell somebody probably multiple times went back through the Bible and smoothed over some of the hard edges to make it the whole text a little more synonymous with the rest of the text. But it really just kind of isn't. It's not really one univocal text. It just kind of isn't. And you can twist and interpret everything and say that everything leads back to Christ. That's fine, but it just kind of doesn't seem to. Especially when you look at some of the areas that have been kind of glossed and finessed and tweaked. While the Bible doesn't state Lucifer was a musician, Ezekiel is often interpreted as suggesting he held a musical role before his fall. The verse describes the king of Tyre, thought to be Satan. Okay. Before the fall, yeah. God took responsibility. God took responsibility. Is that why humans were punished for all of eternity? If God was actually all-knowing, he wouldn't make mistakes. Which people, the Old Testament gods, are exposed. People smoothing things over, miss Ezekiel 23:20. What's Ezekiel 23:20? Is that the verse of I form light and darkness? That doesn't sound right, but what do I know? I promise you I'm not as smart as I might think, I might seem. No, it's not the verse. But what is it? 23:20. Yeah. I don't have that verse highlighted. Why don't I have that verse highlighted? I'm not reading it. Yeah, I am. For she doted upon their paramours, whose flesh is as the flesh of asses, and whose issue is like the issue of horses. It's talking about dicks incoming. Because we need that visual in the Bible. The law was only given to Israel, and they accepted it and rejected it. Okay. If you study other cultures, you will find that there is a knowledge of God. There is a knowledge of a God. And yes, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, the Abrahamic God is a concept that exists in the world. And people who believed in that concept interacted with people. So there was, yes, there was not only people with knowledges of their own gods and their own cultures and religions and whatnot, but there were people who knew that the Abrahamic religions existed and the Abrahamic gods, the concept of the Abrahamic gods existed. What are you eating? She just went after a bug. Snickers, or...
She just what?
I think she ate a bug. Peanut was over here, like, gagging hard, getting ready to throw up, and, you know, just really, like, pumping like she's gonna throw up, and she throws out like a single piece of food. I was like, is that how we feel? More cultures than that? More cultures than what? Hello. I didn't give a number of cultures. I just said many around the world. Hello, Grayson.
Sent that verse to his mom on Easter Sunday.
Diabolical to send Ezekiel to your mom. I sent that verse to your mom on Easter Sunday this year? That's diabolical. Who are all the people in the Old Testament worshiping? They weren't all worshiping the same God. Also, the Bible You got to go outside the Bible. Because we can't... Oh, okay. We can't... So I had a notification pop up and it's derailed me. Sorry, a second. We can't trust the Bible as historical, reliable text. Just because the Bible said it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. All cultures have some knowledge. The idea of, I don't know what's happening, there must be a God or something divine going on, and the idea of attributing crazy things to the supernatural is prevalent in different cultures all throughout the world. It's just what humans do. I don't know why the seasons change. It must be spirits. I don't know why this natural disaster happened. It must be Poseidon. That doesn't really do much for us. My dad had a few words, but it started a conversation. Why they view gay literature as grooming, yet this book is okay somehow. Dad had a few words, but it started a conversation about why they view gay literature as grooming, yet this book is okay somehow. That's diabolical. Go outside and find what? What am I supposed to find outside? It's dark outside. So you don't know much about the gods of this world. Is there more than one? I know a decent amount about the proposed gods and the proposed supernatural divine explanations and deities that have been proposed throughout cultures, throughout human history. I won't claim to be an expert on them, but I at least know of them. You find knowledge of spirits. Okay. My only god is my cat, Mason. Cats are gods, and they know it.
Is you coming back for more cuddles? Yup. You jumped down, now you're coming back for more.
Your community viewer posts? What is that? And why is it off? And should I turn it on?
What's going on?
It's just an extra category. It's turned off. Viewers can't post in your community right now. Turn it back on to get the conversation going again. What is this? What have I found? Aboriginal culture figured the rainbow snake was essentially the creator. Do you know about any of the gods that Israel was worshiping? Why God gave them a divorce? When? Like after, like when they started going, I mean, there was the golden calf, but then are you talking about when they started following the gods of like the nations that were around them? God was married? Well, there is this idea of Asherah, God's wife, but we don't really talk about that these days. She got shadow banned like Lilith.
Isn't Lilith Adam's first wife?
Mm-hmm. My cat's a sweetheart who got me through both suicidal ideation, coming out to myself and others, and my deconstruction. Sounds like your cat is like the best god that's been proposed. I think your cat might be a better god than any of the other gods that I've heard of. There's dragons for some reason in every culture, different dragons. Okay. I doubt every culture, but... So you don't believe in any higher power? Do you believe in any supreme being not necessarily biblical. I don't really believe in anything supernatural or divine. So no. Well, I'm glad you have, Mason. I really am. I'm telling you, there are demons. Okay? So the dragons that are present in every culture and that are gods in every culture are demons. You don't have to believe it, but there are. Okay. I'm not going to believe it, but sure. I know there are people who believe it, and I used to believe in it very strongly. I used to believe that I'd be attacked by demons.
Smokey. Are you gonna come pop into the live stream too?
I used to believe that Satan was whispering in my ear, trying to tear me away from God with homosexual thoughts. It was great. Not traumatizing at all for kids. Because that's what I was taught in school. Not only were we taught, like, because I went to Catholic school, K through 12th grade. So not only were taught, obviously, homosexuality is wrong, but one teacher, at least one, said that homosexual thoughts were Satan whispering in your ear, trying to tear you away from God. It was great. Why do they require blood? Why does God? All throughout the Old Testament, God required blood from sacrifices. And then he required the blood of Christ, and that was like the final blood sacrifice. I am being attached to... Okay. I like it when Satan gets behind... Getting attacked by demons, you mean? I like when Satan gets behind me. Or it could be Siemens, you know, that either or. I guess either one works. We all go through fleshy lust. Well, yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, really, as long as you fucking control yourself. Hi. Hi. Just a cat looking at me.
All the kitties.
Demon semen. Only animal sacrifices for God.
Until Christ.
Until Jesus, yeah. Until Christ. So I'm just... So yes, other cultures did do human sacrifices. And it does mention that in the Bible. Where does that get us? Where does that get us? How does that... sorry for spamming your chat with dirty jokes. It's alright. Just don't go too far, because I'm sure there are monetization things on YouTube, but like I don't care. How does people doing human or animal sacrifices get us to God's real and demons are real and all of that? And dragons are real. There are a lot of dragons throughout different cultures. I'll give you that one. I don't think all of them, but there are quite a bit. I'm sorry you went through that, man. But it's a good story now, right? Kind of interesting conversation. It's good for what I do. You know, I'm trying to help people on their path out of Christianity with deconstructing, finding themselves and accepting themselves. So having a good traumatizing story about finding myself amidst the chaos of Christianity is good. It is good. And I'm happy for it. But it did suck. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I would change the stuff that I went through. Just because it gives me more to work with now. And it helps me to help people. And I am willing to suffer if it means I can help others. What exactly is unique about Judaism, Christianity, Islam, when there is so much conflict within Torah, Bible, Quran, and it can't tell you what happens in the afterlife when people die? What exactly is unique? When there's so much conflict within them. They definitely have similarities, and they definitely branch off of the same story. Adam and Eve taught Cain and Abel that death has to go before them. Where exactly does it say that? I am probably going to end the live stream soon, by the way. We're going over an hour. I do have to get up before sunrise tomorrow, so don't wanna. It's my 50th live stream. I don't know if y'all saw that, but that was pretty cool. Pretty happy about that. 50th live stream on YouTube, at least. It's probably like live stream 100 something total, because I did about 50 on TikTok before I came over here. Before sunrise, so you can avoid burning in the daylight. Yeah, I gotta get into my. It's actually really funny because I do work in like the back of a store, in the back hallway. There's not many windows. I can see windows from where I am, but like, I don't get sunlight. I do leave.
Until you leave.
I do leave in the afternoons, like the sun's there, so I can't really escape it then. But I'm only a vampire in the morning. Even though I take my lunch out to my car when it's still morning. It works if you don't think about it. Like the Bible. Are you on the East Coast? I am in Kansas.
Midwest.
Midwest. Where exactly in Genesis do Adam and Eve have that conversation with Cain and Abel? I don't recall Adam and Eve talking to Abel.
Smokey, stop.
Abel's lamb was accepted. Cain's crops were not, but God even tried to reason with Cain. Yeah, I agree. He's like, hey man, no, it's alright. Just like, do better. It's okay. Don't be jealous and stuff, or don't be angry. Just do better. And then Cain was jealous and angry. Just do a simple search for those two names. Okay. I mean, I've read the Bible a few times and listened to that part on an audiobook a couple more times. So I've read through the Genesis story multiple other times. Like I know the story. Genesis 4. So Genesis 4. Do you have a specific verse? Or I don't really want to read the entire chapter. Unless it's absolutely necessary. I would rather not. It's not that long. Cain knew the assignment. I mean, I'm not disagreeing about anything that happened with Cain. I was just sitting here agreeing that God said, like, hey, Cain, it's alright, just do better. And then, like, Cain didn't. God told Cain that sin is present and he should overcome. And God said unto Cain, King James Bible, by the way, why art thou wroth? And why is thou countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. Yeah. I mean, that's fine. I'm not really arguing about Cain. I've said that a couple of times. I'm not really arguing about Cain. I think I've agreed with you a few times. Smokey. Smokey. Kitten. Not really any conversation between Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, though. Yeah. God, obviously God talks to Cain and Abel. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's what I was asking. That's what you were trying to give me things about. Conceived Cain, and she said, Abel. In the process, it came to pass, Cain brought fruit from the ground. Yeah, Genesis 4. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain. And she said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And they give the offering, and God's mad about it. And I don't so... Yeah, I don't think it says Adam and Eve spoke a word to Cain and Abel. I mean, I'm sure they did. You know, it was their kids, but... Yeah, in the process of time. But you were making claims of what exactly was of specific things that were being said by Adam and Eve to Cain and Abel, and we don't have that. We can assume that they talked, but we don't have any. We don't have those transcripts. Is that the right word? I don't even know if that's the right word. Transcript. Is that the right word? No, that's not the right word. That's not the right word. Yeah, not really. We don't have those, what's the word? I'm thinking of like in court.
Transcripts?
Is it transcripts? Did they write down what everyone's saying? Is that right? Maybe it is right. That's right, they talked. They talked, but you said earlier that they said something specific. I can't remember what you said. I'm trying to go back up and see it. You said that Adam and Eve said something specific to Cain and Abel. Why would you think they did not teach them to make a sacrifice if that is what happened? We don't know why they made the sacrifice. We can make assumptions, sure, but we don't know. Adam and Eve taught Cain and Abel that death has to go before them, yeah. And I'm wondering where that conversation happened. We can't just assume that it happened in between. Especially, we can't even assume, because one, we don't have any conversations between them, so we can't assume anyway. But we also can't assume because Cain and Abel brought their offering straight to God. So, and God's still kind of hanging around and like talking to people and whatnot. We could assume, you know, if we can assume that Adam and Eve told them, we could just as easily assume that God told them to. Or that they knew that God existed. Adam and Eve told their children that they needed to make sacrifice. When? When? A talking donkey could have come up to them in the passage of time. So that's how your logic works. My logic works by we don't know why they brought it. When I read it, what I think in my head makes the most sense. Not that I'm claiming that this is what happened, because we don't know. But what it makes the most sense in my head is that Cain and Abel were raised to know God and brought their sacrifice. That's just like a thing. Maybe I didn't think too much about it. And maybe Adam and Eve did teach them, and that's fine. But not only did you say that they told them to take sacrifice, but you also did say Adam and Eve taught Cain and Abel that death has to go before them. That's a whole different other conversation as well. So not only do we not have anything about them saying, hey, go take the sacrifice. Who else would have told them? God. God could have. Or they could have come up with it on their own. You already said you don't believe. Don't believe what? How would Adam and Eve have known that God would be appeased by slaughtering animals? This is a good point. This is a good point. That's the first sacrifice. It is just kind of out of nowhere. They do just kind of like bring their stuff to God. They do just kind of bring their stuff to God. But all we get is in the passage of time. So somewhere in there. Yes, I will grant that somewhere in there they had the idea presented to them or came up with it or whatever. Somewhere in there, the idea was birthed to go give sacrifice to God. I tell you, death goes before you. What verse is that? And when are Adam and Eve saying that to their children? Then again, God didn't look upon it with favor. He liked Abel's. Abel's was cool. Jesus is the Lamb of God. Die for you. Prove it. But still weird that they were possibly instructed to do it. Coats of skin. Lots of plot holes. The sacrifice is in the coats of skin. Where do you get that? So I don't know how to pronounce your name, and I'm sorry. Brixton Spirit? Brixton Spirit? Is that right? My issue throughout this conversation, the wages of sin is death, sure. My issue with you throughout this conversation is just wondering where you're getting stuff. You're just kind of, it sounds to me, and I could be completely wrong, but it sounds to me you're just kind of taking stuff and just trying to twist it and interpret it into fit this way that makes sense or follows this narrative or whatever. And I'm trying to figure out where you're getting this stuff. And you're not really getting me there. What do y'all think about the Shroud of Turin? Broken spirit. Oh, that makes sense. Broken spirit. Okay, I will try to remember that. What do you think about the Shroud of Turin? I don't look upon it in any credibility. And the live stream's almost over, so I won't really dive into that conversation. Not that there's too much to dive into. I'm just kind of not convinced. But yeah, I won't say too much more. I have more to say about it, and I have more that I have said in the past. But we're at the end of the live stream, so I don't want to open up a different can. Adam and Eve died to God, but God promised to defeat the serpent. God promised to defeat the serpent. Cool. So says the Book of Claims. And some stuff. And Adam and Eve died to God, but he promised to defeat the serpent. Which tracks, I guess, in the Bible. God killed Adam and Eve, figured they died from old age. Well, I don't know. God's in charge, isn't he? It can all be blamed on God either way.
He said, you lived long enough.
He did. How old? It's gonna make me mad. Old. I don't know if it says how old Eve was, but I want to say 930 was Adam's death. I knew it was 900 something. What about Eve? I don't think it says how old Eve was, but she's probably, I imagine, the same age. Well, no, because I guess one of them could have died. Yeah, it doesn't say. She was probably, well, I don't know. 930 is a long time to keep up with them. So maybe she died in like her 500s or something. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, God did. They tried to cover themselves with fig leaves. And then you just kind of keep putting in random, like, bits in there. Oh, you can't tell them the coats of skin is animal skin. So, like, they were dumb for using fig leaves, and
Oh God, it's Wesley.
Hi, Wesley. You're late, Wesley. I'm about to end the live. Real bread from Jesus. That real bread. But thank you all. I think I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you all truly for the conversation. I know I may not have been the kindest throughout that conversation, but I do still enjoy the conversations. So thank you all for being here. I usually go live every Tuesday night at about 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I want to try doing more extra live streams, which is why I'm live right now, because I enjoy it and I like it. So thank you everyone for being here, for having good discussions, for being awesome, for any support. Just anyone just tuning in for a second is really cool. So anyone liking or talking or whatever else, any kind of support. I'm a random nobody, so any kind of support is really cool. So thank you so much for being here. And I truly appreciate it. So have an amazing rest of your night, day, whenever you're watching this, and hope to see you all in later ones.